Steps to Better Grades by Dr. Kenneth Sufka. It contains great information about how to go about studying materials. So, and it has 9 steps, but I'm just going to go over about seven of them. So step 1, always go to class. Now that may not sound like a big deal or sound like that's something that is out of the ordinary, but you need to go to class. There's no substitutes for your own notes. Other people may take notes, but they may not be in the same style as you're accustomed to, and it would be just like reading a book that someone else wrote. You may not still have good understanding over what you've read, and what you know may be different from what that other person knows that's taking the notes. So you need to go to class. Each class session is a learning session. When you go to class, you're able to understand the material a little better. You take better lecture notes, which will lead to better grades in the end. Only miss class for legitimate reasons. Number 2, never sit in the cheap seats. You know where the cheap seats are located? In the back. So when you go see, let's say Beyonce, do you want to sit all the way in the back? Heavens no. Where do you want to sit when you see Beyonce? You want to be so close. When she do like this and she slings sweat, it'll hit you on the head. And that should be the same way when you are studying and going to class. Very important. Learning is not a spectator sport. You don't just go to class, sit in the back like a bump on the wall. When you go to the game or when you go see Beyonce, are you just going to sit in the seat and watch? No. You're going to be like, yes, and up and having a good time. Being an active participant, and you need to do that in class. Avoid distractions in class. What are some distractions we have in class?
I was just talking, I'm not sure.
Other people talking, our friends sitting next to us, asking us if we're going to the Beyonce concert.
Using your cell phone.
Cell phones, Snapchat, texting. Avoid those distractions. Put your phone away. Put it on silent so it won't buzz, tweet, twerk, whatever it does. It needs to be quiet because as soon as it makes a noise, you're going to be grabbing for that phone to see who has done something and who has said something and who has been somewhere. So when you're in class, be in the moments and be in class. Avoid those distractions. Don't sit near your friends if you know you're going to talk with your friends. Because that friend may be a natural at that class and get an A, and you barely get there and struggle. So avoid those distractions. Meet up after class. Next step, number 3, is prepare for class. Meaning don't come to class cold. How do you come to class cold? You don't look at the material, you just show up. So then when you sit down to take notes, you're hearing this information for the first time. If you would have read and prepared before you came to class, then you would have the material, you'll know what the teacher was talking about. So it just makes sense to do yourself a favor and read before you come to class. Read your assigned material before you get to class. Know what's in your syllabus, when your tests are. Come to class when you're the sharpest. If you are not a morning person, don't schedule yourself for an 8 o'clock biology class, or an 8 o'clock math class, or an 8 o'clock English, or history, or any 8 o'clock class. Because what's going to happen when you try to make 8 o'clock class? You're just not going to make it. You're going to miss class. You're going to be in there sleepy with your cup of coffee, falling asleep. All right, number 4, when you're lost, ask questions. You should not go to class dazed and confused and leave class dazed and confused. That's a problem. A deadly habit is don't try to be anonymous in class. I'm just going to go to class and sit back here and it's not going to bother anybody and not going to ask any questions. Who does that hurt? Hurts you as a student because now you don't know what the material, you don't know what questions to ask. You just come to class and sit there like a bump on the wall and get an F. Now you have to retake the class, you're out of $400 and something. Is it worth it? No. That's what the instructor is there for. There are no bad questions. And y'all have heard this since you were in kindergarten, first, second, third grade. The same question you have, 3 or 4 or 5 other people in the class have that same question, but are afraid to ask. Know your instructor's office hours time and know office hours etiquette. If you miss class, don't go and expect your instructor to re-lecture what they taught in that class. That is not going to happen. Understand office hours etiquette. When you go to your instructor's office, you need to be prepared to explain what you need for them to clarify for you. Tell them what you know and describe what you don't know. Don't go in the office and say, well, I just need help with everything. Even when you come see a tutor, don't come see the tutor and say, I just need help with everything. No, you have 30 minutes of time, an hour at the most. Come in prepared with questions. This is what I've tried. This is not working. Show me how I need to correct this. So next step, number 5, get spaced out. And we're going to talk about the study cycle. Some people think that it's best to just, study all night or study 3-4 hours on that one topic. You should always avoid all-nighters and long marathon study sessions. Because you know why? There's only a 40 to 50% mastery level, and that's still an F. You'll remember what you started studying, and you remember what you studied at the end, but everything in the middle will be a blur. This is the study cycle, and this is basic stuff. Preview before class, meaning don't go to class cold. Skim your chapter, note any headings, bold-faced words, chapter objectives, so you'll know what you're going into. Attend class. Review after class, just to keep this stuff fresh in your mind. Reread your notes, fill in any gaps, or note any questions that you have. Then you'll study. Repetition is the key. Ask questions such as why, how, and what if. Intense study sessions are 3 to 5 short study sessions per day. And on the bottom, that outlines how some intense study sessions should go. You notice that they don't last for 3 or 4 hours. And next, you want to assess your learning. Perform reality checks. What do you know versus what you don't know? Am I using study methods that are effective? Do I understand the material enough to teach others? Space out your study time. Try 8 daily 1-hour sessions, or breaking up the information or the material into smaller chunks. That really helps. You'll have much better recall and much better grades. So break it up into smaller chunks. This requires time management, because you have to balance study times and days between your classes. If you study 3 or 4 hours, that's fine, but as long as it's not just on the same subject, just sitting there and just droning on and on. One other thing that I tell people about all the time, number 6, is develop learning objectives. Don't just sit down and say, I'm just going to study chapter 6. Do something specific in chapter 6. Start there. I'm going to study bones today, or I'm going to study the heart today, or I'm going to study World War II, in order to focus your study. Because if you know what you're studying, what you're looking for, then you'll have a better chance of finding what you're looking for, having that material, and being able to make connections with other information that you have to learn as it relates. Concept mapping is a knowledge organizer. Now last, I'm going to talk about some learning checks. So I'm going to throw a few out here. Self-testing with friends. Use your notes. to ask any questions, quiz each other, do some role playing, think about approaching a subject or a topic like you would have to instruct others. What lengths are you going to go to learn that material? Study all material through learning objectives, and I heard from a anatomy instructor that what you're learning in class and being tested on are the learning objectives that are right in your syllabus. And when you're studying, don't waste time on things that you already know. So you need to figure out what you know versus what you don't know. Don't just study the whole periodic table if you know half of them. You just work on the other half that you don't know, that you're not familiar with. Using study guides like index cards, Quizlets, what's the other one, Kahoots, each other.